Start recording. Okay, today I gotta figure out some sort of animation. Recently I've been doing a lot of like overlapping or like a couple objects and have them go from like here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. And so I was thinking about doing something along those lines. So I was doing some Faceloops, but I'm trying to think of ways to illustrate all at the same time, kind of different ways of showing motion, because recently I've been messing more with doubles or like residual bits with those bubbles, those trailing bubbles. If something's going from like here to there, I'll have it go here or be an elongated thing and then have the residual bubbles hop around the back end. And then I did one where I had a 3x3 grid of squares. That one got a little bit chaotic and took its fair amount of time, but I might try to do something where maybe I have a combination where I need an odd number if I want to alternate between three basic forms and have them transition. That could be something. This is a more chaotic looking piece of paper this time around, but okay, that was that thing. Sorry, I froze for a minute personally, and then I looked at my feed to see if stuff was looking alright, and I had frozen. So you're going to have a little reactionary thing there. But, I just want to try distorting things more. Doing slightly longer frames, I don't know. Maybe I'll just do circle. I do like the idea. Maybe it's something where, like, I have some forms that are like directly I just find a little bit more of a pattern with it. My nose has been a little bit runny, pardon the sound and the appearance. It's not fun for me either, creating a more intersecting grid. Or even messing with the tessellations that I've done, but instead of having it be for a phenakistoscope, just have it be like an object divided into. I just would want to do it 4. I would just want it to be like I think what I might do is just mess around with drawing some squares that I really like the overlapping though. I think I might just make like 4 circle figures that have a little bit of distance between them, and then over like 12 frames maybe have it be various ways that they can transition from just this same thing to a similar thing. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, let's grab my Nice. Hey, Zog. How's it going? Not much going on. I was talking before I started on things about the fact that I didn't do a stream yesterday because I had a filling fallout. Not last night, but the night before. And I scheduled to go to the dentist and went at 2:30. But now I got a new filling in my face. And it's a metal one, because the dentist was like, maybe this will be stronger. Alright, let's check out this feed. But dentist makes me anxious at this time and stuff. Wasn't solid gold. I looked up what makes a typical silver filling, and it's actually got mercury in it. So, like the amalgam that you have in your teeth. The silver filling, it's made out of copper, tin, silver in like a powder form. And then it's mixed with like some kind of mercury that's safer, and it binds the stuff together. And then it has a setting period of like initially a couple minutes or something, and then it takes like about 24 hours for it to really settle in. And so he was like, you probably shouldn't floss tonight, which I think might be like the only time a dentist has been like, don't floss. But flossing was actually when it came out of my teeth. It's one of my molars, so it gets a lot of chewing pressure. You can see that okay. I was just curious because pencil isn't always the easiest to see on this on live stream. Over here, getting lower and lower on this, but actually, just so I have it here in case it does go completely out, I'm going to grab a bottle of ink from the other room. That one's completely empty. This one has a good amount in it. This one just has a little bit, but sort of similar to the amount that is in the bottle I have hanging around currently. This one looks okay. I am recording. Cool. Just making sure. Do 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 do, or do 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 do. Oh, the bongo sound. I can't hear it because I don't have a monitor on. I'm curious what it's sounding like. This is the bongo tape, which I have one full side, which is what I'm playing now, the A side, and I'm working on the B side. The A and B side is dictated entirely by just which one comes first for me recording. It has nothing to do with it being like the primary or the better side. Sometimes I have better stuff happen earlier on because I take more time with it, and then sometimes I have better results later on because I've learned after having worked on things. You can barely read if you have a decent quality version of the stream coming through. You can barely read that it says Bongo Boise. Side A. Never been to Boise. I don't think I've been to Idaho at all. Or Iowa. I've been to Indiana. Utah. Illinois. But I have been to Ohio. I've barely been to... have I actually been to Illinois? If I have, it just would have been a layover in Chicago. I've never visited Chicago. No, this is... Right. Okay. I'm going to try and do this over like 12 frames, showcasing different ways that you can transition from very similar it's just going to be this. I think I'm going to go here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, and have that go about the same. But first frame, it's just going to be a copy of what I just did. Plan with the tapes is to sort of focus in on a different drum kit on my little drum machine and have that be the thing that sort of dictates the sound of it. And so I kind of want to do a cowbell one, but I also know that cowbell is not the it's one that might take a little bit more work to make it feel okay for it being like 90 minutes of work. Or 90 minutes of audio. Because the ding might not be... Like a drum machine cowbell is different than a cowbell. But regardless, it's still a kind of... can be caustic or a little bit harsh. I bought a number of tapes on eBay. Some of them are blank, but most of them have some sort of recording on them already, which you can record over a professionally produced tape if you tape over the holes that are at the top of it, but which is what I ended up doing for a lot of VHSs because it was cheaper to get old, just any sort of VHS, also cheaper to ship them, because a lot of recordable VHSs or tapes, the appeal is that you have as long as possible to record, which means that there's more physical tape in it, which means that it's a greater weight. And with that greater weight means that you have higher costs for shipping. So when I got like old tapes and just taped over the existing things happening there, it meant that it was lighter and cheaper to ship. How do I want to do this? Because I can make it just like a simple guide. I can make it spin. I can make it do a loop-de-loop. What sort of motion should I have for this transitional bit? If I'm just going from face to face. Most straightforward is just stretched out dude. I think it might be a few frames slow and then speed, stretchy, condense. This might end up being shorter than 12 frames. Hey, Super Slick Tom. Not much going on. Got Tomasio. I called you Tomas for a long time on Instagram Live, and then at some point actually read like your profile or something and realized that was Tomasio. That's totally fine if you've been busy with schoolwork. I don't expect anyone to always be watching, and if they are, that's cool too, but just generally not. You got your own lives, I got mine, which is why I wasn't here yesterday, because I was at the dentist. had a filling that came out. And wanted to get it fixed. So I did. Saying you got a filling doesn't sound as impressive as I got my bones replaced with metal. Which is what I did this time. Usually I have them replaced with resin or something. It's like drawing loose, but it makes sense. It makes animations sort of wobbly, wibbly, doobly. This is number 5. Hello, epic bra movement. Bienvenidos. Welcome. How you doing? Hope you're doing good. Take that a little bit more. This might end up being 12. Be ready to squish out. feels like a lot, but worst case scenario is it doesn't go over well, and then you learn from it. It's something that's easier to face later on in life as opposed to earlier on in your experience of things, but it'll all be alright. Might end up being more like 12. But I do wish you best of luck with your portrait drawing. That's not the most reassuring sort of description. Like, worst case scenario, that happens. You learn from it, you move on. Sometimes the things that are like the worst experiences when they happen are the best lessons, which that is not encouraging either. You'll be fine. But your drawing's great. Learning experience. Well, you were watching my line contour drawings. Not the best portraits. Take time, you can draw more stuff. Learning experiences. 11. 12. a slight jolt from doing that one. I'm gonna have to check the audio levels again in a second. So I'm gonna mute my mic for a second while I check this audio as I switch tapes. And I'm back. You have to hear it fast forwarding a little there. It's a different sound. It's just the recording or playing back the information. So a cassette tape works by having a magnetically charged electric tape. There's like iron that's adhered to plastic, and the same mechanism that sort of like writes it is pretty similar to the mechanism that reads it, but it has a section that receives magnetic impulse against it, and then it amplifies that signal, is my general understanding, and the reverse of it is just putting a magnetic signal onto the tape. Once I started trying to explain it out loud, I'm like, I don't actually have a strong grasp on this. But if you run a magnet across a cassette tape, it'll mess it up. But if you're condensing that, it has higher frequencies. Because everything's happening faster. So it has a higher pitch. Higher pitches are when things are vibrating at a faster rate. So if you take something that's moving slower and you speed it up, you get a higher pitch. Same deal if you slow it down. It's getting a little bit misshapen. I actually do a quick illustration after this because this isn't the best one for animation. I've been making, or for shirt designs, but I was thinking about, I was looking at some old work that I had where I had figures or faces looking into like a mirror and being surrounded by large, just solid black spaces. And I kind of wanted to play with that a little bit, and this one won't take all that long. About halfway done, and it's been an hour, if that. I was just thinking about having the space surrounded by a solid black. Part of that is that the print service stuff that I use doesn't charge based on how much ink you're using. It only charges based on like how large the image is or what it's being printed on. So how many frames do I have to move this out of the way? I don't have that many. I have 2 frames to clear. Unless I want it to be behind it, but I like the idea of something moving more out the way. So I think what I might do is treat this as something of a like weird snaky bit. Maybe I'll do it in stages. Still not dry. There it is. Just gonna take a peek and see who's on the watching bit. Hey Hannah, Eve, Tamara, and Root, and Dr. Mari. Alright, now let's fill these in. And for that, I'm going to zoom this out a bit. So we'll be open up a fair amount of space. Shouldn't take too long. These are fairly simple. And there's 12 of them, which isn't nothing, but it's not a terribly large number of frames. Yeah. Nice. love my further. Errors and events. It's me thinking out loud. But it's almost always true. Singing performance art stuff, that's not my deal. So if I were better at that, I'd be a different person, but performance arts stuff, I don't have much skill in that space. That's an artistic skill I could have a better understanding of. Sewing, putting cloth together, I'm not good at that. It's so varied and fluid as it moves and exists that I don't have a strong understanding of how to manipulate it because it is a living thing. I'm much more comfortable in spaces that are more rigid. Like there's fluidity to the animations that I do, but it's still black and white on paper, so there's a lot. I have a greater sense of control when working in a space like this as opposed to live performance or in fabrics. Because the t-shirt designs that I do are just sort of essentially, I like this drawing, it's here. But it's not the shape and the form of it all. I'm not particularly confident or well versed in those spaces. Probably be better at it now than when I was younger, but I would also like to be a better potter. But it takes a lot of equipment or space for most modern pottery, but I do like the idea. The idea that pottery is something where you can, like, the basics of it you can do entirely on your own. Like, you can dig and find the clay and build a fire and fire the pot and create some sort of pottery. There's still a lot that you can do for, like, specifics to get better. I don't like digital illustration because I feel like I don't have control. It's sort of a different vibe. For digital illustration, maybe it's because I've only worked with certain materials, it always feels like there's a homogeny to it, where, like, it's less expressive and varied, and it always looks like what I'm making is worse. When I watch people use Procreate, I'm like, that looks easy, but also it does a lot of stuff for you, which isn't bad. It's just something that can lead, if people don't find their space in that medium, it can lead to more similar looking work. I combine like 4 letters. Similar. And so when I feel like I feel like I don't have control in digital spaces sometimes is latency and textural response. Like, I can feel the paper when I pull a brush across it and how the brush behaves, and I can look and I can see the variations in all of it, and that gives me feedback to make changes, to correct or shift aspects of things. Also, I like physical mediums because there's a different preservation to them. Things that I made 10, 15, 20 years ago, in digital formats, a lot of them are outdated, both in how they were, like the resolution they were created at, where it was only for viewing on a 72 dpi screen, and now there's a different understanding of screen resolutions and what size and how much screen space can be dedicated. Yeah, it's all variation, Eve, for depending what your art style is and how it fits with the medium. I like what I've arrived at for me, but different for different people. But back to talking about my own experience working in digital stuff. A lot of the earlier animations that I did were all in Flash, and now, unless I were to save it out as a, I don't know if I can anymore, like what the support is for having those old Flash files, but it's a specific format and medium that doesn't translate as well. You need specialized equipment in order to interact with it. I think I might actually wait to do my illustration thing tomorrow, just because tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a shorter stream. And so, or I need to do a shorter stream tomorrow. I'd rather just see what this animation looks like instead of doubling up. It also makes it so I have a cleaner upload for YouTube and all those bits. So let's move this. For the time being, I'm just gonna set this all the way over there. I'm going to be interacting with the scanner. That's in pretty close proximity. To my drink please. And also, when I was starting into things, like the digital tools might not have been as robust or responsive. There's a latency issue with my experience using tablets and stuff like that where it's not, it's like there's a slight delay from when you move and when it responds, and it also depends how what you're working with and how you're working with it. This is 01-22-2021-4 faces scans. Copy that. Make a folder of it. Live designs. Sorry, I got a new email I get to respond to. Choose that one. Okay, now actually need to go in here, create a new folder for that. Alright, now let's scan. It shouldn't take too long because I only have 12 images. Curious how this one's gonna look. This is more an experiment in some movement and conveying it all at once. I think it's something that might be better served in pure abstraction. Like if I just were doing shapes and showing movement, different movement of those shapes. Excuse me. I forgot to zoom back in as it was scanning, but that's okay. Crazy how having like a day off can affect my pacing of anything. It's also that the last thing that I was doing was the line contours, and with that I was working in a different format, so it feels like it's been longer since I've been in my routine, even though it's only been all of 3 days. I'm also a little bit off because yesterday I had my filling, but I also had did laundry late in the evening, and I thought I had broken the washer, so like it didn't spin to get rid of the excess water, and so I just had like a pile of super wet clothes, and I took them out and tried to get the washer working. Didn't seem like it was gonna work, and so I like spent half an hour wringing out all my clothes, and they were like still pretty wet, not as dry as they would be had like a spin cycle to draw that water out with centrifugal force. And so I just was, and I'd done a cycle with cold water, which meant that my hands were like very cold, like red, as I was working on stuff. And then around like 2 a.m. I realized, oh, what actually had happened was there's like a little switch that there's a little like pointy thing on the lid of the washer that when you close it, it activates a safety switch, and that safety switch means, or makes it so it'll be able to I don't want all that. What I want, cancel that. It means that it'll allow the washer to spin. Is Photoshop open? It is. Okay. Sorry, generally distracted, but so I had broken off like a different part of that little switch, and as soon as I just like manually tripped that switch, then it worked. And so then I loaded everything that I had wrung out for like half an hour back into the washer, and it worked fine. Scripts, load files in a stack, browse, life size 122. Load these in. But it meant that I stayed up later than I thought I'd be staying up. And so woke up tired. This is 01/22/2021 for faces and there are 12 frames, one sketch. I don't know if Valeria's watching currently, but someone just subscribed to me on YouTube. Thank you. Just about time this corrects as far as putting these stills away. Alright. An initial crop. Moment, create frame animation, make frames from layers, 0.1 second, reverse frames, pull curves, make that a bit darker. I think I should be able to get away with this about yay. And this should be let's make this a little bit better. 1080. this out. I like this. It's got a nice feel to it. I think it's mostly because I like that first bit. The first little, like, whoop to the lower right. My designs. 01-22. Don't let it give. That out. Switch out this image. Our designs 122. And this is very very sort of fluid on it, but I like it. A little bit confusing in that middle because there's stuff intersecting and it's all sort of fluid, so you can sort of read it as turn off window capture. You can kind of read it. Try to think of like the best way to potentially point to stuff. I'm gonna do something quick. New. Just gonna make this 100 by 100. This animation was meant to be trying to look at a few different ways of blurring, of doing motion blur, of doing animation smears, is what they're called. And so you can have those artifact sort of things. The one that's going down to the right is more, or I guess if you're watching me, it's this direction. Let me finish making this thing. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm going to make something where I can point at stuff, essentially a laser pointer. And to do that, I'm just going to make a red dot. Image mode, RGB color, a red dot. Delete the background, save this as a PNG, load it in as an image. I don't have a great way to point at stuff, but if I have this, PNG, red dot, I can use it to sort of highlight things and just drag around the image. So let me pull that in. This is an image, red dot, browse, desktop, date modified, red dot. There we go. Okay. So there's a little bit of having this face right here, because it goes directly down this way, and there's the overlap of that. You can sort of visually also read this as going that direction. But so the animation smear going down this direction has some aspects of multiples. I'll pull this out and show it. And it's for a fast moving sort of fluid looking one. So you have, try this off to the side. With that movement going down here, you have these sort of blurred, smeared out images where you have multiples of things, but this one's a lot more fluid of a quick motion. where this one on the bottom right to bottom left is much more rigid. It's more like it's more like a more mechanical looking because it's in more rigid sort of steps to it. You still have multiples, but you don't have those exaggerated curves to it or direction to it. It's a lot more just sort of one for one. It's more robotic. And then the motion from the bottom left up is doing it sort of in two stages. It still has a little bit of that artifact that you were curious about, because you can see around here the lip falls off the face a bit because it's moving quickly, but I wanted to have that lip still there. And then this one moving that direction has just a tiny bit of some smears right around here because I didn't do great math on it, sort of. Like, I don't think that this rotation would actually end up precisely to where it was back to being vertically in the same spot. It might be more or less of a distance. Like, the circumference of this rotating probably doesn't end up precisely here. I didn't measure that out, so I had to sort of force it a little bit, which meant that I smeared it a tiny bit so that it blurs and you sort of get rid of those imperfections as it comes over this direction. But that's what messing with this was trying to do, is just explore all in one image a few different ways to progress quickly in an animation that's hand-drawn. None of them are necessarily the right or the wrong way. They're just different ways to approach it that you can use to convey different senses of motion. If you want a character that's sort of, you might go with either the bottom left I like trying to look at different ways to do stuff, but if you're looking for something like softer with it, then the diagonals are sort of the ways to go with it. This one also has probably the most follow through, which is when you have motion, it's not just bump, bump naturalistically, it's not the same exact and then stopping on a dime. That's why it looks more robotic for having this one going straight across here, because it does stop immediately. But this one landing down here has follow through. That's where when you have something move, it doesn't stop on a dime, it sort of continues moving after it stops, or elements of it move. The example that I remember seeing it talked about is Little Mermaid had a lot more follow through with her hair. Like, when it would move, the hair would then settle for a moment or two. It doesn't just, because hair is fluid, it's light, it's elongated, it moves, shakes. So that you have some follow through here, but it makes the face a lot more sort of cartoonish, jiggly, looser. It's not as rigid, but going here to here, the face feels a lot more solid. And this one, it's airier because it is moving, but it's a little bit different. And then this one is just relatively rigid, but it has a little bit of blur right here, and it settles afterwards, where this one doesn't have any settling period, it just lands. So that's today's animation. Tomorrow I will be working on a still, just a drawing, not an animation, because I've got plans for later in the evening there. I was making sure I didn't do this whole thing with a widescreen setting here, because sometimes I do that. So I'm going to go through spiel now. So if you want to watch this stream in full or previous streams, you can see a bunch of them on youtube.com/Faceloops. I've got an archive of a decent amount. Not got like maybe right around 20 of Twitch streams because I only started doing that this year, so this month. But I've got a bunch of live streams from Instagram live streams going back to like September. If you like this design and are curious about purchasing it, well, now I'll do that spiel too. I'm starting to, since I have these more organized, make it so you can buy the stills directly. They're a little bit more expensive than if you were buying a print or a shirt because these are one-offs. But they aren't so much more expensive because these don't really cost all that much for me to produce. So something like this where it's only 12 frames for a full animation because it's effectively working on like 48 frames. These will be like $40 each, but that includes shipping if you're within the United States. And if you want to buy an original still, you can get those at traceloops.com/store. If you are interested in buying a still or other merchandise, you can look, and you aren't shipping to the US, you can email me to figure out, there's different prices for different locations because of shipping differences, but you can email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can also email me there if you just have general questions or other things or curiosities. If you want to follow me on other platforms, you can follow me on Instagram.com/traceloops. It's a lot of what you see here, but presented in a slightly different format. Same for TikTok.com/@traceloops. I think that's all that I have going for today. Plan on being back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions right now, you can throw them in the chat, and I'll wait around a minute for that. Tomorrow, it'll just be a still image, a drawing as opposed to an animation because it's the freaking weekend. My schedule tends to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, animation, Thursday, still, Friday, animation. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, animation, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, still. Yesterday, I didn't do anything because I had part of my bones replaced with metal. I had a tooth filling. But I like explaining it that way. It sounds more impressive, more aggressive, more permanent. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Again, if you want to watch these in full, you can go to youtube.com/traceloops. If you want to buy stills or shirts or different things, you can go to traceloops.com/store. If you're shipping outside of the US, or if you just have questions, email me, traceloops@traceloops.com. You can follow me on Instagram, traceloops there, or TikTok, traceloops there as well. Adios, and hope you have a good weekend. Alright.